It's Nolan. Now, before we get started, make sure y'all hitting that like button. Make sure y'all sharing it on your respective platforms. Let somebody know what we're doing today. Now, let's get into the show. What's going on, beautiful people? It's the kid J Nolan here. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Industry, number one source for music, entertainment, commentary, and breakdowns. Hey man, this interview with Chapo that we recently did is definitely making waves out there. Once again, I appreciate everybody for tuning in, chiming in, giving your feedback, giving Chapo that encouragement. One of the parts of the interview that created some waves was where Chapo sent a verbal message out to AlBe back to try to understand the curious emoji that he had left on a previous video where we were talking about Chapo and his impact in the game and all of the different things that he had done under the name Fame and early parts of his career. I think there was a little bit of confusion between the two parties, but we have gotten that quelled. We've gotten all of that taken care of, and as a result of that, I actually ended up getting an interview with I'll Be Back. Now, again, if y'all don't remember who I'll Be Back is, he was in ATL. He was the New York friend. You know what I'm saying? Yo son. Y'all remember that from ATL? He's also had a career in hip hop, poetry, production. He's worked with people such as Kanye West and been in those circles for many years. And I was actually able to get an interview and talk about this. And we talked about, the mythology of like ghostwriting in hip hop, contributing to, these big massive records or these big massive teams that go on in hip hop. We talk about his career, his insight, growing up being around Big Pun and Fat Joe and like how he even got his name. So, you know, uh just being pure, being steadfast and keeping integrity. We didn't want no drama. So we ended up getting an interview with I'll Be Back off of that, and we're about to go into that now. So go ahead and, get you a snack, get you a beverage because it's a very interesting conversation. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to miss it, man.
His name is Fame. In the clip, the way it came about was that Steph Lover was like, "I'm doing this interview with this kid. He's dope." You know what I'm saying? And he's like, can you jump in, like, just hang around, and when we do the freestyle session, you could just, you know what I'm saying? And I was really doing it for Steph Lover. You know, she's an icon in New York City, and she's an iconic voice. Um, and we were neighbors at the time. I was living in the upper part of the Bronx, and so I just, as you can hear, the freestyle, I didn't really go in. I thought I was just kind of like, starting the show, getting.
Yeah, yeah.
I was up, and then I have a boss beat was like, for me, I never really liked it, but I was, once again, as an artist, you go with the challenge, and I was
Yep,
like,
yep.
at the time, and I think all rappers got this where you're like, wait a minute, I did that verse there, I said that freestyle there, hold on,
Yeah, you
and
got
you
to
got.
keep track of what's going on. Yep.
You got to keep track of what's going on. I didn't want to let out anything or whatever, so I was just like, let me just try to freestyle and kind of do a little bit this and that. She saw my face, I saw her face and her ass, and she ain't have to turn around. And I think the lines for that one was like, I remember now, I had the Tommy Hill button up. Ladies love the fat kids when their boyfriends is fucking up. Call them up. You know what I'm saying? Like it was like a whole wow. So I was like, instead of doing all that back in those days, we had the little bullets in the arsenal.
Yep.
And so then this kid raps, and I'm like, yo, like yo, I just love rap. And the thing is, he did have the I'm a boss beat is just then, you know what I'm saying? And so Meek had already kind of established that,
A certain bounce to it.
certain back to it. But then with the way he kind of his lines, I think everybody in the studio was like, "Yo, these are lines like it's coming out different." You know what I'm saying? It's tailored, but it's like it's different, like the way he was attacking it. So we was
Yep.
all excited to hear him. So I'm a kid in the cipher always. So from the lunchroom to whatever, I'm always gonna be like, "Yo." I'm always going to listen to the purity of somebody's choices and
Yep.
why they made that choice. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
So then, fast forward to this moment, right? When I see the clip, I go, he says a line in there where he's saying, in the old freestyle, where he
Yep.
says, what does he say? He says,
The
I'm the youngest nigga doing it. No, no, that's the other joint. He says,
my excuse is that I'm young.
my excuse is that I'm young.
Yeah.
And when he said that, I was like, oh, and I was like, huh, like I was thinking, like the emoji was like, oh, like, you know what I'm saying? I was just like, you know what I'm saying, like a fan, like just
Yep.
listening to it like that. I didn't have any any ill will, like, oh, like, you know, like hating or whatever the case is. That wasn't the thing at all. I'm glad he caught, or that you guys had that discussion, so that this discussion can happen, because
Absolutely.
the poetry in our careers, me and, we meet there, but then my life goes this way, his life goes that way, and we meet so many mutual people, but we never kind of meet each other. We
Right.
never see each other again, and we went through the same thing where we've, just been working in this business for so many years. You know what I mean? I think I was working a little bit, you know, um, I've been working as far as, in the industry for a minute. So I think 2005 is when we 2004 is when I shot Def Poetry,
Okay.
and I was on HBO's Def Poetry, and then
Yep.
2005 is when we shot ATL, and 2006, I was unsigned hype, you know what I'm saying,
Source.
and then the Source, shout out to Source, you know what I'm saying. I think 2006, 2007, and then the graduation album. Yeah, I worked on that in 2007. So I had that understanding of where he was too. Just even being around Pun, being in the studio, and being like understanding that this is something special in this room, and then the world gets to see it later. Like,
Yeah.
I love those stories from those artists that do that, and I both of our careers did that in retrospect, because I lived in Calabasas and stuff like that. Like he was saying, like, yo, you have to understand, why am I gonna be rapping if I'm living a life like I'm
Yeah.
chilling?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Right.
I've been there. I've been there where I'm like, yo, I'm not moving a muscle. I
Yeah.
escaped. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm from Bronxdale.
Yeah.
It's not even called Bronxdale no more. It's called Sonia Sotomayor Housing.
Mm.
You know, shouts to them, and Drag. I'm from Dragon's hood. We from the same block. Well, not the same block. We have different sections of projects. So he's from the first section, I believe. I'm from the second section, and Sonia Sotomayor is from the third section, and
Gotcha.
uh, and so, like, these are man, these are projects that you could say for the Zulu Nation was like first in Bronxdale and Rosedale, and all of those projects was where it turned from like Black Spades and all these gangs like that you saw in the Warriors movie
Right.
to like breakdancing against each other in park jams, and they used our court where they had those big
Okay.
speakers and stuff like that. So I grew up in that. The love of the game, the
Yeah.
love of the craft,
Yeah.
man,
The
and
whole culture.
everybody's presentation was different.
Hmm.
What given. So when I saw Fame in that freestyle, that we, shouts to him, because we didn't hear that pocket like that. So when I see it now in hindsight, it's like I should have did the quote, the pause, the mind blown emoji,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I was I have an internal camera on in my head.
Nah, it's all good. But again, like you said, man, the fact that that's what sparked this conversation, I
Yeah,
appreciate it. And we got it squared away with Chapo as well, because there's
yeah.
no ill intent. So we good.
No intent, no intent. It's a dope story, and I want to hear more of it. I
Yeah.
want to hear, not, of course. I think the big part of it is the timestamp. Like, the reference for the timestamp, I think is what's shaking time. I don't think because pocket and technique for me is sort of like the idea of like we was talking about on the phone, like monks and shit, that like they had techniques and they had a certain way, and then Bruce Lee came out of nowhere and was like, I'm gonna fuse all of this,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm gonna show it in Hollywood, right? And it's
Right.
like, all right, cool, you know what I'm saying? But the technique it kind of diffuses like to them what they was teaching, you know, and so that's in that regard. When you look at a Chapo, or you look at a side of Prince, or you look at Diana Gordon. She used to be Winter Gordon, and you look at
Yep.
Stacey Barth, King Los,
Yep.
um, Daylight. There's so many people that they have relationships with artists, and the relationship allows for the technique to grow as well. So when you hear about Chapo, the Chapo's relationships with the producers, he's like, "Yo, I'm just sending memos because these are my peoples. We're rocking." And I remember that. I know that world. You know what I'm saying? Because we all want the same goal to achieve greatness together. So it's not so bastardized like I wrote for the person and stuff. But I think the conversation became big because of what we revere these timestamps to be as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. For sure.
Yeah.
So, circling it back to you, I know you said you worked on graduation. Um,
Mhm.
so is that something that's like safe to talk about? Because you mentioned it.
Yeah. I'm on. I
Okay.
mean, you could. I'm on the last. Well, man, when we started working on the graduation album, there wasn't. There was about four records
Okay.
done, and then I came in because I had worked with him. I was a production assistant on the Two Words video.
Okay. Yeah, the
But
video that came out later because it wasn't
yeah,
released when that song came out. Yep.
right. And then Two Words came out, and then he had shot like three videos in that time. And remember, Def Poetry, Most Def,
Yep.
most Dante's my man, Yasin Bey, that's my brother, and so we all kind of like we're all in the same nucleus together. The first time I met Ye was on the Brown Sugar video,
Mm.
um, Def and Faith Evans, and I remember seeing him then and having a conversation with him. You know what I'm saying? And you know what? I never said this. I never said this, but I said to him, I was like, "Yo, is this? I don't even know this dude. This is a producer that just is around Mos Def,
Yep.
and I know they're looking at him like he's like the next one, right?" And so I said, "Yo, I I'm one of the greatest rappers of all time."
Mm.
And he looked at me. He said, "I believe you."
Because y'all had the same attitude.
And he just said, "I believe you." I
Mm-hmm.
don't think nobody ever said that to me before. Like those words from that thing.
Yeah.
So ever since then, my connection with him was like, "Oh man," you know what I'm saying? And we got in the car crash. I remember me and my mom praying for him. Like when we saw it on MTV, like we stopped and we started praying for him, and then like it was always like in the thing. And then by the time the graduation came out, I had a record with a chopped up most thing, and that me because me and Yasin was running around together, and I was running around with him. You know what I'm saying? And he's so influential to my career. Most Def is. So he loved it, and it became the song "Good Night" that he puts out later
Okay.
in um, uh,
The graduation album.
in the deluxe
Gotcha.
version. And then it eventually made it to the streaming services when Donda came out. But yeah, that was an amazing time. That graduation, Virgil sleeping on the couch, working on Photoshop, and Ye just really mastering not just his craft but his team and his velocity. Just watching him kind of do things in one take, and you know what I'm saying? Like the purity and how he worked in the studio at that time in
Yeah.
2000 is second to none I've ever seen in my life. You know what I'm saying? So such a blessing to have just even been there, or just even like we had the basketball court. It was in the record plant in Los Angeles, and even having the basketball court inside the studio, like you know what I'm saying, the ball hitting pianos and shit, and it's like Common playing defense on you, and
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
you're like, nah, bro, nah, chill. You know what I'm saying? I'll make you fine forever, bro. Hold on. And then everybody's like, yo, AlBe is like, just add that New Yorkness to the Chicago guys,
Mm-hmm.
who had went through New York, but then now they're in LA, you know what I'm saying? So Cootie was there, you know what I'm saying? And Big Sean wasn't there yet.
Right, right.
He wasn't there. I think he came like, a little bit toward the end, but just, yeah, my infectious ways of being in the studio and how I work, I think, yeah, just like he understood it, but he always kept me like, you know what I'm saying, like chill. This is like my moment. I don't want, a lot of times it's like protecting his brain because then all those things won't come out, and then once they come out, you can interject your spirit, but it's a lot different. It's not like writing for him. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's more the energy of graduation was just all him. He was just like Captain Kirk. You know what I'm saying? And
Okay.
the album looked like that, like the university, and I remember the website was fire. I think it was the first time he broke pre-sales, like for Apple and iTunes. I think that was the
Right.
first time
Yeah,
seen
because
that.
that was the competition with 50 at the time too.
Oh man, it was such a time to be alive, man.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? On the flip side, you know, like people be like, oh, you talk about yay, this and that. And the flip side, I was there when, you know, I think Def Jam didn't print up 1 million copies.
Mm. How?
Like, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like, he get frustrated. Y'all go, it's a rant. It's like, nah, that's not a rant. That's like, what are you talking about? You didn't believe that I would do this many? Like what? Stuff like that. Like I watched that. I was a fly on the wall for that, and got to meet his mom. During that time, and man, just a brilliant woman, and just her aura, her energy. I didn't get to have that growing up. I didn't get to have such a powerful cheerleader. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? My mom didn't really do that part,
Gotcha.
and even hearing Chapo talk about his mom and just the connections, like you know, any tongue speaks against you. Just giving them that advice. I think we all like all artists. You'll find that there's a relationship with their mom and their parents, and because that's their first relationship, that's their first friend,
Yeah.
you know and you could kind of look at their career and see that, you know what I'm saying, if they you know so I just think like that time meeting her, she taught me something because she said something that I've never heard before either. Um, and rest in peace to her. She said, we were standing there, he was signing autographs, and she looked at me and she was like, that man has taught me so much. And I had never heard a mom call someone a man.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. The
you know how
child.
she phrased it.
Mm-hmm.
It's always like, and the way and even her saying that she taught him so much. My mother's never, what I mean? Like I didn't have that necessarily, that relationship. And maybe a little later on, me and my mom did, but watching her be that cheerleader for him was so inspiring. I think it was inspiring to all of us, right? Like when we watched the Two Words video, you see her name,
Mm.
like, or all of that. Seeing, I think she was in the choir at the Grammys, right? And it's
Yeah.
like all of that is like it was so special to see family, um, and just to be around that. So yeah, the graduation was such a beautiful time, but it was all that man and how he creates. That was 2 years after. Well, that was a year after ATL came out. ATL came out in 2006, and then
Yes.
now
That was a
2007.
monster of a movie, by the way. Like, especially for me, I'm from Atlanta, so that was like a huge staple.
Shouts to Cascade.
Yes.
Shouts Jelly Beans was actually what it was called before it was called ATL.
Mm.
Uh, Jelly Beans used to be a skating ring, right? It was Cascade, and it was Jelly Beans.
Yeah. True.
And so, like, it was a great time to be alive then too, man. You watching Ti carve that King album,
Right. 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 At
and
the same time.
like watching Pun and watching Ti, and then Graduation, because Graduation is after that, 2 years after that. Watching those three guys, they were completely different, but were completely three different dragons. Like they're like dragons and how they approach, especially during that time Ti the way he approached records. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I
And that's
watched him.
yeah, and those are times where they had something to prove, you know what I'm saying? So there was a different level of hunger that was going into that as well.
Yeah, yeah. I drove with Tip like 100 miles an hour past the cop car, right?
Okay, yeah.
And he literally said, "They know it's me."
Mm,
Right? And that was that time that where he was king, and then well he's still king, but in retrospective of what what it was, and then
right.
album, and then and then we drove to Manny Fresh's to the session at Grand Hustle, and Manny Fresh is chopping up the Top Back record,
Yep,
and
yep.
then right there he does the line, addicted to fast living. Guess I'm one of my dad's children. You think I'm bad now? Should see me before I had children. Like you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, and that's what I think with podcast that the NBA players are doing with their storytelling of the moments. And I
Yep.
think there's a new generation that are gathering not only that the song was made or that the game was played, but that there was all this backstory behind it that mattered to why it was played like that.
Right,
You know
right.
what I'm saying? Yeah. Now when you look at the Vernon Maxwell Vernon Maxwell games, you like, damn, he felt like that about Mike.
Yeah,
He got
yeah,
all
cuz
it's like
Yep.
it's all being broken down. So I think when it came to that emoji, back to that conversation real quick,
Mhm.
but I think that emoji was like when I heard that line, I wondered, did you know what I'm saying? It was just a whole wondering of you almost feel like you were there. And when it comes to studio moments, a lot of times people don't get that opportunity. You know what I'm saying? To be in this magic moment. So
Right.
we're done. We're not done with music, but we want to hear more. I guess we want more commentary. We want more depth to it, and I think that's going to happen more. I think a lot of people who were um, there, and was able to pick up the tools from being there, like what I'm saying, like just like you say, oh, I played with 1998 Mike versus I played with 88 Mike.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, oh, I was on the field. I was in the lab with '07 Yay, and like I was in the lab with '05 Ti. Like it's like a museum of
For sure.
souls.
Yeah,
You know
and
what
you
I'm saying?
can yep, and you can actually expound on those moments
It's
and talk
beautiful.
about what was happening at that time and really like kind of humanize it because I think a lot of times when we talk about these times and these people, it's all like through like a lens of like the keywords or the what was gonna get the clicks or whatever. But when you can humanize it, it's things that people can relate to, even if you haven't been through the situation directly in the studio with these people. You can like, oh, that was happening, this was happening, these were the people there, these were the recipes and ingredients behind what we actually received.
Yeah, yeah. I could make a record right now, right, and it could be number one in the world. Um, there was something about when Pun went to the studio, he went in a limo. Like it was
Hmm.
back then when we were going to the studio in a limo, like the
Yeah.
studio. You know what I'm saying? So there's something about the young artist from nothing in the limo, headed to the studio to join the fruits on the table, everything, the M&Ms.
Right.
You know, he's going. His mind says something about 1998 and the texture of it. It's like, oh man, like the whys. The why we do this
Hmm.
because and it was hip hop was always the rusty fork trying to eat like the silver spoon.
That's
So
crazy. Yeah.
every time we got a chance, shouts to Lemon. That's a quote from my man Lemon Anderson. It's like every time we get a chance to like experience it, it's infectious. From the lunchroom to this Not Like Us record. You know what I'm saying? Whatever
Hmm.
it is, it's like it's infectious because it comes from our people and it comes from pain.
Right.
And I think Glasses Malone, shouts to him. He's always telling us like what he feel hip hop is. You know what I'm saying? And it's like you have to have come from pain. It comes from a pain place so you can understand why it looks like that. You feel what I'm saying? It's
Yep,
like
yep.
why would you spray why would you spray paint a whole train like that? Well, I've never been to Brooklyn, but my name did.
Makes
You
sense.
know what I'm
Yep,
saying? It's like,
yep.
yo, today they're gonna see my name in Brooklyn because I spent that whole morning like, and this name that I created, it
Right.
matters. Now, like, I'll be back. A pun gave me my name. It was the
Okay.
last time I spoke to him. He was like, yo, I'll be back. And he was like, oh shit, that's your name from now on. I'll be
Mm.
back. You know what I mean? And I was like, all right, cool. And then he passed away the next day.
Wow.
And so
So,
I've been I'll be back ever since.
quick question to follow up on that. So, how did you and Big Pun like develop that relationship for him to even give you that name?
I had another name before that. It was Kidnapper.
Hmm.
Yeah, you know, it's Terror Squad.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
I'm this 15-year-old kid. But I think Crack. Shouts to Joey Crack. Him and my cousin Mad Mark, another Bronx legend, was good friends. And from my understanding, my dad didn't need money. My real father didn't really need money because he had some army stuff, what I'm saying, to take care of the funeral. But Crack came and like helped out in a way. You know what I'm saying? And I remember that day. I remember what was going on. Like seeing Crack walk through the Bronx, or just being in the Bronx is like a moment. You know what I'm saying? Just because he was that guy, and we
Hmm.
all respect Sonny from Bronx Tale. You know what I'm saying? And so um, it's like Sonny, took care of your father's funeral. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yep.
he's look up to him, and then so you're always around. So Pun really took a liking to me. I think no one knows really why he just always wanted me around, and
Okay.
he just always bring. And I'll go run to the store and stuff like that, and then eventually I wind up sleeping in the attic, and I was staying in the attic the whole time, and it was like another room up there, you know what I'm saying, and that was like my room, you know what I'm saying, and he would just call me stupid. He's like, "Yo, stupid, yo, where's stupid?" It started with stupid, but it was stupid because I wasn't. You know what I'm saying? So it was almost like that hip hop with him. Like I was
Gotcha.
like, what I mean? That's my man, yo. He just would teach me. He would just, teach me once again technique. I was there for a lot of different writings, of different verses for him, and so his technique and his choices, you know, he would say like Jay-Z raps in a way where he would say Jay-Z raps in a way where he's talking to somebody,
Conversation. Yep.
right? And he's like every verse he's talking to somebody, and you just don't know who it is. It doesn't matter.
Right.
And it's now we're going to the kung fu of shit. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So Pun was more like that. If you listen to a lot of Eminem, a lot of Eminem is not only with the syllables, but like I Pun did his record with where he goes wait and Punish Me, where he's like it goes come back, and he goes nah baby, he goes like don't like he stops the hook from coming in, and he goes, you know what I'm saying, and then he keeps
Hmm.
rapping,
Right.
and then
Right. Right.
Eminem does that the following year, with the Kill You song, where he goes nah this ain't the you know what I'm
You
saying.
right. Yep.
And so like there's these little things that way you can understand who's the monk of that. And you
Right.
gotta do that due diligence, because you could study Kobe Bryant's feet as far as how he moved, but then you could study Hakeem's and where he was learning, and then you could study Mike's, and then you go, oh, okay. And
Yeah.
now when you see Jason Tatum's footwork, you go, oh, okay. You start to understand these things, like, and
Right.
it's not just, it's just the elk and the cloth. And I think that's what, to me, when I saw your interview
With
with
Chapo.
Chapo, yeah, when I saw that, I was like, yeah, that I understand what he's talking about. He's like, like I created this technique was is my shadow box.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I think everybody deserves that. I think everybody deserves that conversation, no matter if you wrote it or not. You know, Quentin Tarantino has a writing style. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
I don't know who helped him. They say he writes with a pen the whole script. But I'm sure by the time he gets to action, the script has changed. I don't know who was there to help that, but
Right.
he has a technique.
I don't know if everybody knows your history, like as far as like being an artist, being a writer, a poet, a lyricist yourself, because some may just remember you from that pocket in time of, ATL or other films that you may have been in. So for the audience watching, like let us know like how you kind of cultivated your own rhyme style and your own, perspective as an artist through the spoken word. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, to spoken word as a New Yorican poet. Yeah, they did a documentary on me when I was a young lad called Spit Pause. It's not called Spit Pause, it's called Spit.
Actually, I
But
remember that. Yep.
yeah, and we went to the film festival world, and I was just this young kind of like up and coming New York City poet, New Yorican poet, and winning New Yorican battles and slam battles, and the Bowery Poetry Club, and just running through New York like that. I feel like but I did ATL so early that even though I was just still kind of touring and doing poetry, people saw that when I was like 21, 20, 20, 21. But before that, it was all about EO Dub,
Shout out to EO
which
Dub.
EO Dub end of the week, and rest in peace, Vice Versus. And that's why I met everybody. I mean, like Pumpkinhead, Team Hami, Math Hoffa,
Hmm.
all the early battle rap world, and what it was like, to be in the ring and jump on stage and hold your own. So,
Right.
I was just that kind of artist. Pun passed, so there was nothing for me. You know what I mean? It was like difficult. Pun passed early 2000. If pun doesn't pass, I think my whole life is different because then pun died before reggaeton hit.
True. Yep.
Pun died before ringtone money was really being collected from the two ways.
Yep.
Pun like and pun the way Pun and Joe, the way they did fashion, I always like too. Like they, you know what I'm saying? Like the way they did the leathers and the this and the that, and it's like
Yep.
it really held what it is to be, a member of the hip hop community. And so if I would be able to just grow under his tutelage, I'd probably be in a different space. But he was gone, and everybody that loved him and knew I was his little man's, they kind of
Yeah.
took me, you know what I'm saying? Chris Robinson and everybody kind of it's like he was watching from heaven. I
Right.
feel.
Right. Right.
But then I wrote for I wrote songs with people like Macy Gray, and like I wrote songs with a lot of different artists because of the poetry, and because they were a lot later in my career of writing. It's more like I'll come into the end of people's albums where they feel like they're exhausted and thought of everything, and I'll be like that little, like I'll just fill in the cracks and be like, what did you think of this? And like, and just be, I'm more of an energy, of a vibe. I was able to like work with Beats by Dre as a creative director
Yeah.
before before we were Apple. Like Apple like had me through the whole transition, and then I was on Apple with them, and for marketing, we won about 2 Golden Lions in marketing, which is like the biggest award you can win. It's the Oscar
Mm.
of, and for the game before the game, and other commercials, but and the pills commercial, which I was writing for the pills. Remember
Okay.
the remember,
The Beats pill.
yeah, remember the Beast pills? Like
Hmm.
I was writing for them, and that's why I jumped on again. That's why I jumped on the call with you and told you about your last pod. Was like, yo, a lot of these writers are so like multifaceted, and I was able to get jobs because I'm not in the focal point or on tour. I was able to
Yeah.
see different things from different corporations and like pick up things. When I was working at Beats, nobody knew. No, I'm being honest. Like there's like probably like two people in there, Karen Civil, and shout out to my girl that got me the job, Benny. That even seen ATL.
Yeah.
Nobody seen ATL. So I was able to use all of my creativity. At that time, I had a daughter. I was about to have Katie. You know what I'm saying? And Katie was born March of 2012. So from then on, I became a different man.
Yeah.
I became a father. I became more of a corporate business man because I was trying to make sure that my daughter had something, to fall back on, and just
Yep.
using my talent to do all those things. So I was in a play with Black Thought. Black Thought put me in a play
Okay.
called Black No More, and I was able to be on Broadway workshopping that play. So the skill level is there. You just got to keep sharpening
For
it,
sure.
and
Yep.
and then how it's gonna manifest could be any which way. Like you know what I'm saying? Like because I've done things, and I'm sure Chapo has done things that some of the rappers that inspire to they've never done because they want to be in the front so bad that they can't even beat Robert Ory with 7 rings.
Yeah. True.
I'm okay. You know what I'm saying? Like that's seven parades, bro.
Right. Right. Right.
Now what we have, even what we have with AI, I think it's important to be like, okay, this technique comes from this and this came
Right.
from that, and tell our story as much as we can, because you know what I'm saying. So
Yep.
yeah,
Because a lot of things get lost in translation, and especially like you just said with AI, they're feeding this thing the
yeah,
techniques that come from all of these different people. Not to mention all of the other people. Like there's people that know about you that won't acknowledge that they know about you and that they're feeding the AI from your DNA. So it's kind of like they circumventing you and taking what your contribution and flipping it into something else. And so I totally agree.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and and even like myself, you talk about doing the music for TV and film and all that type of stuff. Like that's something I have a pretty vast footprint in as well.
yeah, yeah. You never know. I don't know if I inspired Ice Spice. I
Okay.
don't
Yeah.
know.
Yep.
But
True.
but in 2009, how old was she? So at some point, if she's like 8
Yeah.
or 9 years old or some shit like that, then in 2009, she hears on the radio, Mira, Mira, Ben Aki, Mira, Mira, Ben Aki. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And like that record, nobody had that slow flow like that. You know me, I got money. Being broke, there was no drill
True.
like that. Not in '09. It was, and then it was an attack on more on the snare than it was when I did the Mira Mira record,
Hmm.
and it was an old hook, but it didn't feel like a Spanish record. But
Right.
then it was New York vibe, and then Puerto Rican Day Parade was able to like feel embraced. You know what I'm saying? And then it wasn't a Puerto Rican record because I got a Dominican dude on there with Fab. You know what I'm saying? Shouts to Fabio because Fabio is on the Mira Mira Part Two.
Mm.
3-5, and I feel like when I did it, when I was like, you know me, I'm NYC, and you know I'm rolling D. Some with you, some with me. We could all fit in the G. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
I, I knew I had bars on the album, but I wanted that flow. You know what I'm saying? And maybe she was inspired by that. Maybe the young kids was inspired by that. Like I'm in Saint Zone. I'm in a Venus and one of them. It's like I'm definitely inspired by Mace. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? So just not being it, just having that, that pocket.
Right.
A lot, a lot of people said a lot of my raps sound like Jay Z because then it was like all Jay Z. Oh, that's all I heard was Jay Z, Pun, and Nas. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So it's like they become your forefathers. But this conversation about being in the room, and that's the same thing with the Chapo interview and ghostwriting and this and that. And I don't know who he wrote for. I don't know what way he inspired, but the technique. He should teach a master's class on his technique. You know what I'm saying? Or like Stacey Barr, then a lot of these SZA used to, I think SZA used to ghostwrite for people,
Yeah,
if I'm
she
not
used to
mistaken.
write. Yep. It's
So
a
I
lot of
just I,
people. There's a lot of people that Money
takes
Long
technique.
has come out and talked about it. Remember,
Yeah,
Frank Ocean was in that position.
right.
There's a lot of people whose prize possession records got put out by other people against their will. And then they rebelled and became their own person.
You know what I'm saying? Shouts to my man Axel Leon. One
Oh
of
wow, you threw that one out there. Yeah, shout out to him.
Axel
Cause
Leon is one of the illest. He's one of my top five favorite rappers. Him and
okay,
Corey,
I was just
like
about to throw him in there because they I remember both of them used to rap together.
you gotta throw Fred in. You know what I'm saying? And then you gotta throw the log cabin that we had. We had a squad called Fort Apache,
Okay.
and all these young kids coming from the X. You know what I'm saying? And when I got the part for ATL, I was with Axel. Like, yo, I got the part to the movie. We didn't even know it was gonna be that big.
Hmm.
I just did something, and it was like, oh, congratulations. You know what I'm saying? And then we just kept rapping.
Yeah,
Like that's it was like
it's
Eminem at the
crazy.
shelter. Like we just like, all right, we didn't know what it was. And I knew I had to leave Tuesday, but we got these
Hmm.
verses to be done. So Axel was like, man, Axel was like, I say this all the time, like the way he his approach from his first line to his second line, what he does. We have this thing called the three E's, right? In writing that I teach when I teach poetry, it's like express, explain, elaborate. Let's talk to your fans, your audience, right?
Yeah.
I before we got on this, I asked him a question, right? I said, yo, people do top five or top four greatest of all time, and they say, who's your Mount Rushmore? And so I asked him, guys, I asked him, yo, what's your top three greatest verses you ever heard? Because Jay raps too.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, what's the three verses that when you hear it, you know, you like, damn, like, yo, this is the greatest verse of all time. What would you say? You said one, I
I said
remember.
one. Yep. So the first one that came to mind was Jay-Z on Kanye, ironically, Diamonds remix.
Yeah,
So that's one. Another is Nas New York State of Mind when he comes in. Just off the rappers I monkey flipping with the funky rhythm. Like that shit was iconic. Um and then my third, Andre 3000. This is before he called himself 3000. No. It's a particular verse on Ain't No Thing from I think that's the first album, Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music.
yeah.
Um and it was just the way he approached that record cuz if you go through Andre's discography and just like stuff that he pops out on, he didn't really get like confrontational on a lot of his verses, but on that particular song on Ain't No Thing, it was like a challenge record. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, wow, like he has
I
that
mean,
in him.
at the time, you have the Dungeon Family, all these nice
Right.
lyricists in the studio. Yeah, it's probably, for me, um, it was verbal intercourse for a
Mm,
while. Through the lights, cameras, and action,
the
glam and
Nas
glitter,
verse, okay.
hold the scroll. But it's interchangeable with his verse on the Street Dreams remix. Hope was all we had. Dreamt the plush style past, complaining the mental straining. How many of my crew was into gaining?
Yep.
Subtract the links about the chain and rise and start raining. Blasphemy, using Nas name in vain. So, you know what I mean? Like, and
Mm-hmm.
then he goes into his whole story, right? And he's like, I tried to learn the game. The only thing I found incredible, everything I tried to learn, see, I already knew. And it's embedded in my heart now. So I can sit back, count and stack, and play my part now. I saw my life flash in front of my eyes. He wore a disguise, put a gun to me. Hungry, he went on to chastise. That's Nas, ain't it? Made it rich from entertainment, fresh while he's painted, as he told the kid he came with. Like that shit, like when he
Mm-hmm.
does that, when he makes us look with him in the scene. Same thing with Big, when Big was like, one black, one Malaysian. We in the hallway waiting patient. As soon as she hits the door, we start blasting. We saw her brains hit the floor. Rob's laughing. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
that 3D of a story mode. Capadonna's Winter Wars.
Okay.
His approach on that was just the first time we ever really like, you know what I'm saying. And then Pun's Dream Shatterer. Um,
Crazy. Yep.
but I I really like. I know it's gonna you probably hate me for this, but I really like. I like Ye's White Dress. I like Ye's White Dress. Pause. Jay Z's Meet the Parents, and then
Hmm.
Eminem's Rabbit Run.
Crazy. Yeah.
And I think my whole life is like those three verses. I think my whole like man, this is the first time I discovered this, but like those three verses are like just all verses, right? It just goes all the way through, and so you could count them as a song and you could count them as a verse.
Yep.
But Eminem's if I no, sometimes some days I just want to up and call it quits. I feel like I'm surrounded by a ball of bricks. Every time I go to get up, I like fall in pits. My life's like one great big
All the
ball
shit.
of
Yep.
like you know what I'm saying? How he was like I can spit it
Hmm.
all and all I spit instead of always on the swan, instead
His
of
cadence
standing
is crazy too. Yep.
right at the bicycle, all this shit, Kid Cool and shit. Like and then you got the shit that Ye does on White Dress when he goes when he goes, but babe, I call you back. You say you said that always and kept me on the phone and demanded they always. See, she knew about all my lies the whole time and my credit's so bad I can't get no one to co-sign. I would
Right.
have
Right.
thought she,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? It's like when he started like that was just too much for me, man. You know what I'm saying? And Meet the Parents, of course, like that's a part of Jay-Z that, um I think we love too the storytelling Jay Z. I don't think he gave it. I think he started giving it a little later in his life, a little bit more. But I think Jay Z could come up with an album that is just every track is a story.
That's what I would like.
A lot of these rappers are birthing other entertainers
Yep.
because of their inspired. You know what I'm saying? And maybe it's not there. Maybe it's in a boardroom. Maybe it's in a movie. You know what I'm saying? Because 10 years from now, my daughter is 13, so she'll be 23. What if she comes out of college and stuff wanting to do a movie? Everything she was inspired by, she's heard Nas like she heard Bob Marley. Like I heard Bob Marley. Like she's heard about Tupac like a mythical thing. You see what I'm saying? It's almost like so if she wants to tell a story in a different way, she'll need actors that not only can act but also can give you the soul of MCs. And maybe you didn't make it all the way, but now you get to act as an artist, as a
Yeah.
rapper. And we need the natural. We all got to keep pushing each other. And as far as your podcast as well, man, I have a podcast called That's a Bar. So I love to interview you, and we can talk a little bit about your music and stuff like that
Okay.
too, man.
Yeah. I'm with that.
Because I'm all about it. I'm all about that being a bar.
For
Like
sure. I appreciate it.
that's a bar. So that's what caused the emoji. That bar where he said it sounded like the I'm on one bar
Yeah.
in that
People. Yeah.
freestyle.
People called it out in the comments too.
Oh, they did
Yeah. They caught on
it
to it. Yep.
in the comments of your joint,
Yep.
not because on the
Not on
DPS.
that one. I don't think
Yeah, there
so.
was. I didn't see that. I didn't see that. So okay, yeah. So I wasn't tripping.
Nah.
You know what I'm
Nah.
saying? So that's what I was like, yo. I was like, hmm. You know what I'm saying? I guess I'm an old head that don't know how to emoji. That I understand when kind of Chapo's like, like how he handles his career. You know what I'm saying? I understand it. You know what I'm saying? But I want to hear that technique. I want to hear more tapes from him. I want to hear the album. I
Yeah.
want to hear where does that technique grow from, and then his R&B technique as well. He has a lot of writing with that, and
Yep.
shouts to Alan Ritter. You know, I did records with Alan Ritter early on when vinyls was just working. It was just Alan and vinyls, and we was all in New Jersey. You know what I'm saying? And Alan got plaques, and you be like, wait, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, but he lives a great life, and Alan could sing. If you know Alan Ritter, he can really sing and he can really rap. Like he can really write, but the world might not have heard him yet. But if I heard something that Alan worked on, I'd be like, That's that technique. That's I
Mm-hmm.
know that. It's like a lot of drummers. You ask yourself, how does Questlove do that shit? How can Questlove hear that it was a different who drum? How
Yeah,
could you
yeah.
hear? I wonder if Source Money helped Memphis Bleak on that intro.
Mm. That's I
Nine
don't know.
same jigger, the little nigga bleed, performing to these motherfuckers live from the streets. They in my peep those. My mind so advanced at 9, I used to geese holes for Easter clothes, right? It's
Right.
like,
That
uh,
kind of does speak to his technique.
it's sort of Source Money technique, right? It's like,
Right.
and I conversate Jans like dudes vote higher than a heat weight, bitch. What's better than the bitches be slave with? I'm a mill pack nigga from Fort Worth, Phil Aston, on the Phil Jackson niggas on that bullshit. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, uh, if you listen to Source, you have that, what did Source do? It's kind of hard with you not around, dogs in heaven and
Oh,
smiling down.
yeah, yeah. I'll be
Right.
missing you. Yep.
Yeah. So it's like, yo, it's like, is that? But they was all in the same team at the same time. Like at that time, was the Source, did Bleak just was unpaused, was right next to Source and picked that up?
Absorbing it. Yeah.
Which one was it? It doesn't really matter, but it matters to the ones who now have to pick up the idea of craft, of it being a craft, because we have to follow the real source to get the purity of it
Right.
and to
Right.
understand. Like, I don't think
Mm-hmm.
Jackson went through any of that shit at 9. The fuck is you talking about? Bring your love back? Like when, bro? You, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, what are you
Right.
talking about? 9? You know what I'm saying? Have you? I did you wrong? Like, wait, who you do wrong? Why you 9,
Right.
bro?
Right.
Nobody's saying that shit. It's not about that. But now I could study the Smokey Robinson elk because you just said it out loud. Just give it to me out loud. So I'm not devaluing Mike's angel voice. I'm not.
Right.
We can't do that. We're not gonna do that. But just let me partake in all of the layers because I got sunshine on a cloudy day. Is the same guy? Because that line can stand centuries of time.
Yep.
You know, this is a line that could. If they don't mess it up, this line, I got sunshine on a cloudy day, can survive centuries of time. And it comes from an elk of and a cloth of a person that can think so vast and so simple at the same time. Like all of that shit matters, bro. Like why you
Absolutely.
came, like,
Yeah.
yeah, that door matters.
So real quick,
Am I bugging
speaking.
or am
No, no,
I?
no, 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 no. You on point. But what I'm about to say
Yeah,
is for your own technique and footprint of what you've laid down, right? Like give us a little bit of a rundown on like what I'll Be Back has been on if we haven't seen you. You know what I'm saying? Like what is it that you've been working on in the time in between?
yeah. Nah, I dropped a joint in 2023 called Trinity, and it was like this album called Apple Z, an album called Dying Near Charger, and another album called Bliss, and it was all put together,
Mm-hmm.
and I put Bandcamp to show like a scope of what a triple album could sound like and feel like, and all these complexities to. But I don't know, my approach when I'm thinking about it, like an I'll Be Back record, like or like a record of mine. My approach is sort of like those three things did, like what White Dress, how open and honest that was to a
Mm-hmm.
woman. Meet the Parents, how open and honest and parallel that is to like storytelling and the hood and where we're from, and then Rabbit Run, the intensity and the hunger that I have. I think for the first time I was able to break that down. But when you listen to my joints, and then another thing, pun always pun always like taught us like to have these mini hooks in our verses. You know what I'm saying? Like just things that he felt like always, people could always repeat after.
Mm-hmm. Can you
Uh,
explain that?
like, Yo, it's all love, and love's got a thin line. The pun's got a big nine. Respect crime, but I would never reflect mine. The shit I'm on is wrong, but it lasts long. Like this, like all this is all him. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Strong and my cream is fast. Smoke the greenest grass. My bitch got the meanest ass and the taste of shit. I don't have to waste a whole case of Chris. All it takes is my pretty face and my
Gangsta
gangster.
wit. Yep.
Like we understand that, you know, like big punt, and then no matter what verse it was, he will always have like, you know, Jay-Z does that too, right? It gets better, order another round. It's about to go down. Like
Right.
understand where your flux with the audience is. Like I love that. So
Mm-hmm.
even in Mita, I'm like da 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 dee da 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 dee. Only you know what I mean. Only you know one front thing. Like I love that within my verses. No matter how deep the verse is. I did when I was in '07. I had a joint. It was like, "Pops, where you going, nigga?" Fucker said, "I'll be back." Mama, where you going? Here's a little bit of "I'll be past." Why? I'll be rap so tentatively over tracks. When you hear it, you can feel it like shit. I'll be mad. 23 people in a three-bedroom minus that extraordinary uncle smuggling our crack. When I say our, I'm talking about that opium seeping through umbilical cords. Nobody's doper than me. Like, so I understood where me was coming if everybody knew the record. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I understood the alley oops of it. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? And
Yep.
I love that. That's what that's gonna make me. The alley oops of it is how I have a conversation when I'm talking. When I'm making a song, the writer is just having a conversation with the sounds. So there's probably three or four major sounds, maybe two, and out of these two and three or four, they're all talking, and I interject me as the fifth.
Yep.
So that's my approach. But
Got
then
you.
again, if somebody saw that and be like, "Oh, that's the AlBe approach of writing," like
Right.
you get to understand me a little bit better.
Absolutely. Um, Also, if I remember correct, you also had a history with another misunderstood person in Dame Dash,
Mm.
with the creative
Ah,
control.
yeah.
So what was that time like?
For me, that was more. That for me, that was more, and I think I did. I think I got wrapped up in that pause, like oh 09, oh 09, 2000, oh 09, 2010, the end of oh 09, 2010. You know, it was like Currency, Wiz Khalifa,
Yep.
Smoke This. You know, Erica Badu went down there, did a basement. It was a thing called DD 172, and it was a
Yep. The
museum,
studio in the museum. Yep.
a little museum loft thing that with like a thousand editors, and we were all just, you know, everybody was just there for the cause of Cootie and Chike and Dame Dash coming together. Creative control was always Cootie and Chike's and DD 172, and they joined the union. So I was always cool, you know, Cootie. Cootie is my like my brother, and you know Cootie and Chike directed two words for Kanye West,
Right.
and a version of Jesus Walks, and as well as Through the Wire. So and they did the documentary with
Yep.
the Genius documentary.
Yep.
So, um, yeah, they were there. They owned. It was a partnership, I believe. You know, because you saw creative control all over it, and I was able to I was able to do a couple of shows there. I did a show called the 1 Minute Show, where there was just like I asked a question everybody wanted to know the answer to, and then I'm like, oh, that's our time. It's the 1 minute show
Mm.
before they got it. And so, and then I was doing songs with Ski Beats,
Yep.
working with Ski, and then of course, like I said, like Yassine was around. So, you know, anytime he's around, his little brothers get to, you know, just be around him. You know, shouts to my man Hussein and just like all of the, you know, the collective. Shouts to Muhammad Islam, who's, you know, Q-Tip's, you know, right hand man, and these are people that kind of raised me. You know what I mean? Like, they kept me safe and kept my mental right. Plus, I lived down the block at the time.
Yep.
Uh, I lived on in Century City at the Ritz Carlton, and and I lived, and that's like after the World Trade. So we were just walking over there. The World Trade Center was still being built, like it's called the Freedom Building,
Gotcha.
and that was under construction. So all of downtown, that area was just vibing, artsy, creative, shooting, and it was just all a whole big thing. So yeah, I got a chance to be under that. Learned a lot from him,
Hmm.
but I learned a lot from a lot of people. Like I learned a lot from Ray J. Really, Ray J
Okay.
taught me. Like Ray J said something that I never forget it. He goes, "Yo, AlBe, I don't want to be LeBron. Like I don't want to be Michael Jordan, LB. I want to be Spalding.
Huh. Okay.
You can't play the game without me."
Right. Right.
I learned a lot from Ti. I learned a lot from I'm just a student slash teacher. You got to pour out the stuff that God gives you. You got to pour it out, and that's why again with this pod, it's like He unlocked something for all of us that of the skill of Chapo of
Hmm.
of, of the skill level that because he was writing since he was 15. I was writing about that time too, but he was already signed and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like those kids, those are the little Kobe Bryants that get, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're in the league as a teenager, you know what I'm saying?
For
And
sure.
get to learn from them. I think hip hop needs a school, like a big school, like a real university and then in that techniques would have to be talked about.
Absolutely. I think Mickey Fax is actually in the process of doing something like that as well.
Shouts to Mickey, man, that Bronx legend, and I've done songs with him, and it's my brother.
Yeah.
Perfect example. Mickey Fast. I was dating a girl at the time whose dad was who owned the ad agency.
Hmm.
So Mickey Fax, this is years ago, he was in an audition for the Honda commercial.
Yep.
You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? They needed some raps, and I was able to tell Shorty, nah, this son right here, but I knew he was my man's. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the fact, but the fact that I knew it came from this Elk place, and all the other auditioners didn't have that. They didn't come from the X. They didn't come from the thing, and wasn't going to give it what Mickey gave it. And I'm not saying
Right.
that he got it because of me, but the fact that you could use your craft in way other places is why they can't become the new creative director at Hallmark, or you know what I'm saying, or use that skill to work on this new GPS that we're doing because of
Right.
there's so much things that like the skill can do, and we're just so selfish with the codes. But when you have fun and you're like and you're having a great time, and that's the thing about your Chapo when he was like, man, I was just going, I was
Yeah.
moving so fast. I don't even remember it. Like I don't remember. I'm in the back of an Uber. Like, yo, turn that up. Is that? They didn't even change my voice. Like, you know what I'm saying? Type. Like, I, I understand that because you don't want to stop. You don't want to. You don't want to just stop to think. You know what I'm saying? You just want to exist in it.
Absolutely. And real quick, because I know we spoke about it offline. If it's cool for you to say it online, but also you talked about doing production as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've done production for a lot of people that you might not have known. I did. I did a beat for the movie Beats where the kids playing the record.
Right. The Netflix movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I did that beat. You know what I'm saying? Where
Yep.
oh, shout out to my man Justin Rains too. Like, it's like I did a lot of the stuff for not a lot, but like stuff for Beats by Dre. I did like commercials and stuff like that. I did a LeBron commercial in the middle of the finals, the one where he lost. I think Kevin Love and Kyrie went down, and I think he just won one game that series.
Yeah.
The commercial that came on during the game that they won, it was with him and my pops, Abia doing Oyewole from the Last Poets, and then I was able to do production on that, and then just, you know, yeah, I sonically. I do have an ear for some things. You know what I'm saying? That's because I'm flexible. I don't just stay stuck to like a genre or a sound. I think
Hmm.
I'm able to do gospel music. We did stuff with the Don the Kids Choir and stuff with like it's all like I'm able to reach into the things that I've learned to produce some more stuff. Working with Brandy, worked with a lot of different R&B situations as well. Evan Ross is somebody that's really talented. I don't think people know Diana Ross's son, who was also at ATL too, but I don't think
Yep.
they know how talented that kid is. Like, just like like the way he can sing, bro. Like, I don't know. There's not a lot of people that could just be like, ha ha ha, get in the ring with the kid. Like his
Hmm.
voice is really really special, and so that yeah, I've done stuff like that, special shit. I think we got a joint with we did a joint with Michael Bublé once, and um, I was in the studio with Stevie Wonder. You know what I'm saying? I've done some stuff where like I didn't even think you know what I'm saying? Like, oh snap, it just fell on my lap.
Yep.
Praise God. Man. Yeah.
I don't want to keep you all day. We could talk about this stuff all
So,
day, but
talking about hip hop.
but yeah, man. Just to kind of cap everything off. Let everybody know like
Yeah.
what you currently have going on, and where
Yeah.
to get you on your socials and all that stuff. Make sure they can get in contact with you.
Yeah, now currently focus on this last Poets movie. Um, my daughter just did a song with this kid named King Moore.
Okay.
Um, check King Moore out. It's a kid, 9-year old. You know what I'm saying? And when I listen to him. You listen, he don't sound like he has any bills, any problems. And like how us rappers are like, damn, I gotta write this to, he just sounds like pure. And I'm like, I
Hmm.
love that. And so my daughter did a record with him that was pretty dope. And then I got a podcast with that's coming out with Jackie Long, Jason Weaver, and Evan Ross.
Okay.
Um, it's real surrounded by acting. It's called Through the Lens. It's funny you had said it earlier. Um, and it's just once again, even in that, even in acting, there's layers to this shit. There's layers, bro.
Yep.
And then yeah, my project, Diane Charger had a record on there with me and Ye called Israel and Israel, and we're working on Diane Charger again. Another part two, so to speak.
Okay.
And my man Meta, this kid named Meta, an amazing MC. I'm excited about. Yeah, there's a lot of MCs that I'm like, oh man, I never heard that before. You know what I'm saying? New techniques out there. So yeah, my man Flacco L. And shouts to my homegirl. This girl is so important to me. Her name is Brina Beats,
Okay.
and she just did a she did a project. I did a project with her where she did all the production, and then I'm just like a poet on each song,
Okay.
and it's real unique. It's real like it's called That Talk, and it's just like lyrical, poetic, Bobby Chulito stuff. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? But it's just fire the way I can dive into a project where I just become that, like Jamie and Ray. You know what I'm saying? And just be able to become that. But I always keep my roots, you know, like BX
Absolutely.
sound. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
And then, and my podcast that's a bar.
That's a
Got to
bar.
get you
Yep.
on. Got to talk about it. Got to talk about, and then when you see I got segments and stuff, so we get to have some fun. Yeah, no, but shout outs to the A. I gotta come. I gotta get down there, and then yeah, thank you so much for doing this whole interview and
Oh
not
man,
talking
I
about
thank you.
ATL too. That really it really means a lot to me that you didn't ask that question, and I really appreciate it. And I appreciate it. And
Absolutely.
we'll touch on it the next pause. If we get it on the next pod, I'll get to talk about ATL too and give more of an exclusive. But as far as this show, as far as lyrical, schmirical, as far as dads, still with the ra, in the pen game, and
Hmm.
as far as clarify, the stuff with Chapo, and
Yes.
I'm so proud. I hit him up. I was like, man, proud of your success, brother. You know what I'm saying? Keep going, because I just didn't know. I think I felt like everybody, like, wow. I could see it, like,
Yeah.
and so hopefully everything works well with him with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Once again, man, and I thank you, because this was impromptu. We just made it happen. And I appreciate you taking the time. I know you got your own podcast and your own business dealings that you have. So for you to take this time, almost 2 hours out your day to chop it up with me, I
Nice
appreciate it.
for hip hop.
Absolutely. Signing out, J Nolan, Inside the Industry. I'll be back. We appreciate y'all. All right, y'all. So there y'all have it. That's the interview conversation. Really a conversation. The conversation with I'll be back. Be sure to like and share this video, man. Definitely gonna have more of these conversations on the channel on Inside the Industry. I'm looking forward to it. It's a blessing to even have these people that are coming from the industry wanting to share their stories and specifically share those stories with me so that we can ultimately give it to y'all. So yeah, man. Once again, be sure to like and share this. And we're going to be bringing so much more for y'all in the future, man. Just stay tuned. Be sure to like and share. And if this is your first time seeing me on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace. King of my city and cul-de-sac. Coming, I swinging like soldier rag. Leading my people like quarterback. But I study this shit, I'm an almanac. Had to get up and grind. Knowledge is booming, I'm here to apply. Came with the chip and the dip, it just single the mind. We finna do more than survive. I need my check. Spinning the block for the Gouda. We hitting the jeweler to flood out the net. We don't do beef for computers, I'm straight out the sewer. We come when you rest. Niggas be looking perplexed, so keeping my foot on their neck. No map, I trust my gut for the quest. With drama, I'm fully abreast. I was ready for years and they doubted me. All of a sudden they tell me they proud of me. I been dropping these haters like calories. Cross them out, I came back with some boundaries. Stand for my honor, but you run no corner. Packing the stick with a drummer. Wanna catch my bad, won't fumble. I done came too far to be humble.